Hi again. Um, yeah, I tried to do a run through yesterday of the falafel match, and then I think the reason it didn't go so well is because it's quite difficult to give your thoughts on another player's two players' decisions, especially when they're moving so fast. And for some reason, I wasn't my brain wasn't working so clearly. Um, and I think it's going to be much more valuable for people if I go through my matches, trying not to be self-indulgent, of course. But I just thought that I can give best my feedback on what I did, and then to a lesser extent, I can sort of second guess from my perspective what I thought Lawrence was going to do. Um, so I hope that you can hear me, and I'm gonna go straight into the video. It's on Backgammon Studio. I played this match it's like 2 years ago. I miss live backgammon so much. It just doesn't compare to playing online. I mean, I'm really not um, at all interested in playing online at the moment. It seems very um, sort of unreal, if that's a good word. Um, and I just, even looking at this board, I can kind of imagine, put myself back in the position of playing and what it's like to move the checkers about. So Chris Bray is commentating, which is really nice, but I'm gonna turn him down because it's gonna put me off. So I've got a 4-2 to play here. I remember this. It doesn't start at the beginning, so we're still at 0-0. And for some reason, I didn't want to play the normal, this normal play, just pick and pass, because I was worried that it just leaves three blots. So I'm sort of sitting there thinking, like, well, what else can I do? Hold on. So I've made a play there. I'm trying to think if I can do anything better, since the pick and pass is going to leave a blot, obviously, here, and it's not going to do anything about these blots. And so I think I didn't see exactly because I clicked too quickly. I think I ended up doing this, putting the checker, moving the checker from the midpoint down to the 11 points. So kind of safetying it, I thought, and then just leaving all the shots. But obviously, what this fails to do is, or in other words, you just leave loads of shots anyway. So it was a case of, I suppose, not being happy with the structure after making what I suppose is the normal play. And I would say that if I was playing now, I would probably have to lump going with 8-4 hit and then 4-2, and then you can count how many shots it leaves. I don't think I even counted over the board, but it must leave fewer shots than not picking and passing. Okay, yeah. I mean, it's just a difficult move. It's a really difficult move. You don't really want to hit. You really want to roll like a 5 and be able to link up here or on the 18. So I struggled with it a lot. I ended up doing this, and this leaves a bunch of shots. Cube's still in the centre. So 3-1. Obviously, Lawrence can actually, he can hit on the 2 point. So he's moving for the checker on the 24 because you want to make the anchor, but of course he's not going to have a 1. So I assume he's going to hit on the 2 point. It is reasonable to make the anchor and then play 6 to 5. It's not like hitting on the 2 point doesn't come without lots of problems. You do nothing about moving the back checkers, and you really do want the anchor to protect against being hit by 4s or any other number that hits loose on the 4 point. But again, it's a difficult play. I'm really not sure what I would do. I would probably have made the anchor. I can't remember what I was thinking about what I wanted him to do. So it looks like Lawrence is pretty convinced that this is the right play, and without me analysing it anymore, I feel that his conviction is a good conviction. So, and now he's got 2 anchors in my board, and I do remember what I was thinking. I wasn't thinking about cubing, and I think it suddenly, I'm making this face, it suddenly dawned on me that even though he's made the anchor, I should be cubing. So I remember what I wasn't thinking, and I should have been thinking, was, will I be cubing, notwithstanding what Lawrence plays, will I be cubing if Lawrence hits on the 2 point? So I know it gets a bit sort of dense, but those are the things you need to be thinking about when you're playing, so that you don't miss cubes. So then the question as for whether this is actually a cube, well, it could, on first glance, it could very well be. Noticing that Lawrence is going to have to break something at some point. He's going to have to either break from the 13 point. I always like to do my arrows, or he's going to have to break from there or from there. And the consequences of him breaking aren't immediate death, but they're not amazing for him. So that is one factor, major factor, arguing in favour of the cube. Yeah, by the way, if there's any problem with the sound, just let me know. You can type just one letter in the chat box just to let me know if there is a problem, but I'm assuming it's okay. So that's why I should have been thinking about cubing, and exactly. So Chris is saying, what if I hit the checker? And it's just I'm cubing here, but I really don't have any idea exactly what's going on. I haven't thought through all the eventualities, but Chris mentions one, which is if you hit this, then obviously he can fan, but he can also come in on the 1 point and then have to break, and it can be very nasty for him. That's one key route to market losing sequences. There's also just escaping, rolling like a 5-4, making the 14 point, and then, I don't know, Lawrence would be forced to come out and then question whether, once Lawrence comes out, if I was to cube them, whether it would be takeable. And I don't know if it would be. So this is a very kind of nuanced, lots of things going on, but all I can say is that at first glance it looks dodgy enough for Lawrence for me to just cube. And if it's not a cube, excuse me, it can't be such a bad cube. And I would take, and I'm not sure exactly why I would take, but so there I do roll the 9 and I link up. It's got to be right to do that. And the question is, do I hit? I suppose I do. So if I don't hit, this is tricky. If I don't hit, then Lawrence will have to break something. But let's say he moves from his, he could roll a 6 and he could come off the 24. It's not going to be that bad for him. I suppose the point that he really doesn't want to break is the 21, arguably, or the midpoint. And so therefore by not hitting, you increase the preponderance of the likelihood of him having to break one of those points. And then conversely, when you hit, you get into a situation where he might never have to break one of those points, or he's much less likely, he's going to be more likely he's going to be on the bar a fair number of times. And then he's got that checker to play with. So even now, it's not clear to me whether I should be hitting. The other thing that hitting takes away is it takes away the slotted 5 point. And since you kind of want to make the 5 point, then taking away the slot is probably bad for Lawrence and good for me. So, yeah. So again, this is what I'm talking about. He just comes in, and of course he comes out with that. Why would you do that? Why would you? That's very surprising to me. So maybe my logic is off in my previous analysis, but I would have thought that you just come in and come out, since what you don't want to do is break any of your points. Now, it's not terrible if you break the mid, but you don't need to. And also coming out to the 15 point here challenges me to get this blot safe. I don't always get this blot safe, and if I don't, let's say I can't move it, then Lawrence is going to have a 1 to hit it, and obviously he wants to hit it, so I don't understand what made Lawrence do that. I think I was probably pleased he did. Now I get a 2 to hit. He's not got a proper back game. Yeah, I vaguely remember this, and I'm keen on playing 8 to 5 with these two to try and clear the point. I'm not sure if it's a bit too premature. So what the idea is, if you clear the 8 point, then you're clearing a point which is in direct range of an anchor, and all you're leaving is a point which is in indirect range, so that if and when you have to leave a shot on the indirect, on the anchor that you've left, you only leave indirect shots. You leave shots from the 21 point and shots from the 24. So, yeah, I know that I'm very keen even now to clear the 8 point. I think it's fine. I cannot say for sure whether it's right, because it lets Lawrence out. There's downsides to it. It lets Lawrence out with things like with 4s and 3-1 and things like that. So now if Lawrence was to roll a double 4, he can move from the 21 point. Otherwise he would have to move from the 13 or the 7 point, and he would have to break some of his points. So I kind of knew that I was going to clear the 8 point. I was just stalling, which I do a lot of the time. I wasn't going to change my mind. Okay, I didn't take too long over it. And then this is just tricky. So really he wants to make the bar, yeah. So really you want both points. So my instinct is definitely to make the 18, but really you want to keep both points. So question, can you afford to leave a blot here? I think probably yes. And it looks like Lawrence is taking a checker back, and so therefore you get double coverage instead of single coverage. Now when you upgrade to this 18 point anchor, now you basically nullify the benefit to me of having cleared the 8 point, since now you're again in direct range of the anchor. So had I have thought of the double 3 from Lawrence, had I have known, then well, yeah, I'd still clear the 8, because otherwise I would have 2 anchors within direct range. But yeah, that's what the situation would have been. So reasonable to stay, even because he's got a 4 point board, but he's not going to. Okay. I wonder what Chris is thinking. I like the baffle box. So 5-3. I could play 6 to 1 here. Okay, I'm not going to think about it too much, but at least it's an easy play. Sip of the coffee. 6. I tend to play Lawrence quite a lot somehow. Obviously, it's not a true statement. It just appears to me that I do. But seem to play him a lot when I go to the BMAB tournaments. We have a lot of good games. We've got a sort of a an entente. Can't really think of the right word. When you play a certain player, there's a certain feeling that goes with that opponent. Every opponent is totally different. Every game is different. So Lawrence has to go from the 18, and now obviously the game is just completely vanilla. It's just going to be whether Lawrence hits a shot, and Lawrence always hits shots. And then I know now, always take a man off the 2-point. I probably knew it then. So you don't need to think about the resulting structure so much. It's not the best structure. This structure is going to generate shots. 2s are going into the bare 4-point, which is not good. 2-1, you can slot the 2 or you can not. Double 3 is obviously a fantastic number, clearing one of the dodgy points. And yeah, I mean, I'm not going to do anything else, but no harm in checking. And double 3 is a fantastic number. He should simply, I don't know why would you, he just hasn't seen it. He just hasn't seen it. You just make the 2-point. I mean, it's not going to be a major mistake, since you have to actually get the shot and then hit it, which is a string of probabilities. So no shot here. I didn't see that. You can see I wasn't aware that 4s don't play. Let's get Chris talking. So there's the shot. So he didn't hit that shot. Okay, so well, I have to play 3 off the 2-point, otherwise I have to leave a shot. Yeah. Okay, and then this is obviously really safe because he. It looks like a gammon, but I don't gammon Lawrence.
So 1 double for Simon, or 1. So basically,
I think Lawrence rolls a big double, not here.
So it's going to be 5. 5 must be right. So
it's only double 4 anyway.
There's only double 4, 5, and 6. Say the gammon.
Yeah. Can you hear the commentary?
So 3 rolls to say.
I'm wondering. I think Lawrence rolls double 6. There you go. Easy. Of course he does it. All right. So let's have a look in. Hopefully you can hear me here. I'm going to go forward to where we were. Where were we? We got into this position here. We were forward from here. Oh dear. Okay, so yeah, of course. What am I talking about? So this is where we started, and I should be cubing. So this probably is testament or explains why I got the 4-2 so wrong, why I was so confounded by it. But maybe I just didn't see the value of hitting loose on the 4-point. He's got 4 checkers back. So yeah, it's just a huge blunder. Again, I was trying to explain when I went through it. I didn't really think about the shot leaving numbers, all I knew is that I didn't like how it left the checkers after the right play, so I just didn't play it. I just didn't like the look of it. I didn't like the fact, I just said to myself, the key criterion is not leaving 4 blots. So I left 3 instead and made a huge blunder. But bizarre how I got to that. I don't know. Anyway, so Lawrence's 3-1 is actually very close according to this analysis. Okay, I won't say too much about it. Oh. Apologies. Let's go back. How do we move forward? 3-1. So he does that. And then it's like borderline, which is interesting. And as I said, it's so difficult for me to really know what's going on, but it feels, well, Lawrence is going to have to break something, and then it's a matter of just deciding what happens from there. How bad is it when Lawrence has to break one of the anchors? And then hitting is right. As I said, I'm not exactly sure why, but guessing that argues that breaking the anchors isn't so bad, since we know that when we don't hit, Lawrence is more likely to break the anchors. And then that can explain why it's an easy take, because likelihood is that Lawrence will have to break the anchors, and therefore breaking the anchors isn't that bad according to the computer, that Lawrence still has the safety of a 4-point board, and he can generate lots of he can hold the checker if and when the checker gets hit. He's able to contain it with his 4-point board. 4-6, yeah, I didn't understand. I don't see any real reason for keeping that checker back. Maybe Lawrence some people keep checkers back in those situations so that if they get a shot, they don't have to break the anchor to hit. Hopefully you can see the arrows here. Yeah, so they don't have to be, if he got a shot from the 21 point, he would be able to hit without breaking the anchor. That's one benefit of staying back, but it's a small one. Okay, so he does that. My double 3, yeah, it's like, it's exactly the same. So there are benefits and there are disadvantages. Sorry if the mic is a bit loud. There are benefits and there are disadvantages to breaking the 8. And according to the computer, they seem to kind of wash each other's fate. They seem to end up in the same equity. Double 3, I suggested that maybe Lawrence could play 18-2 twice, but it doesn't seem to be, well, it's not in the top 6 moves. Ah, yes, so move 4, something like this, is not that bad. But actually, of course, and I probably should have said, is that although you want to challenge the anchor, as I said here, there's benefit to staying back, of course, as we know. The further you stay back, the better. Since that if I leapfrog, let's say he comes here with those 3 checkers, and then I leapfrog them, then obviously he's got no further obstacle in my board. The obstacle is gone forever, which is why well, there are positions where people hold on far too long to the anchors because they see very clearly that you need to stay back. But sometimes this is very gravely wrong. Okay. What have we got? Right. Sometimes difficult. So the 5-3, yeah. The 5-3, I would have played actually 11-3, just because I don't really want to spare on the 6 point, and I don't want to spare on the 6 point because I want to clear it really as quickly as possible. I know I've still got the 11 point, But that's what I might not have done the same now, being much older and wiser. But it's tiny. It's really no big deal. And then Lawrence's plays are really quite nothing. Yeah, I had to leave a shot here. I was just talking, so take a man off. Take 2 off is a big blunder to do anything else. Go back, just show you that. I mean, I hope this is valuable for whoever's watching, whoever's going to watch. I think it's definitely worth doing it. Double 3 is a fantastic roll. Now only 1 anchor to clear, really. And when Lawrence missed, I was like, here, I was probably thinking I was going to gammon him. And obviously here I was pretty sure, and that was that. So let's go back to the game. So he's sort of
So the key position there was really the double. So Simon correctly played on for Backgammon. Then had a
right. So
roll as well. The point where he cued, Lawrence had poorly timed one for Backgammon and had already made his ace point. All of those are factors indicating it would be close. So I thought longer than Lawrence did.
lovely. So 5-1. Lawrence down 2-0. He splits, loving the baffle box. 6-1. Advantage already. 5-2. He can run. I like this play. So trying to make the anchor rather than running. Double 3 is bam. Someone's just, I don't know. Oh no, Lawrence. I would make the 5. I think I probably ended up overthinking and making the 3. I think those are tricky, and so he should probably make the 23. Yep, good play. And now, so it looks like a 24-20, 13-11 jobby. So covering the outfield as well as, covering all this. Yeah, I don't know why. I think I was going for sort of the non-obvious plays. I mean, now by doing this, you just don't get the outfield coverage. And then if I had a man on the 11, I would be able to make the 8 with a 5-3, which I can't do now. So now I don't make the anchor. I would have been making the anchor with that 4-3. And now I just get it round, which isn't as good. So I think... Anyway, so let's talk about this 6-5. This 6-5 is difficult, surely. It's just one of these horrible 6-5s where... Okay, so obviously he has to leave a shot. I think he has to rule out coming out, and he just has to play to the 2-point, even though it strips the mid. But even if you get missed, Lawrence's structure is pretty poor. He's got like an extra checker on the 4-point, which it's not going to do him very, very much good. So, yeah, I mean, even playing to try and improve the structure, I guess you can't afford to do it, but let's say I didn't have the rack, then you'd even want to do that just to get some sort of foothold in the game. Because when you play 13-2, you're just not getting anything from it, even if it goes right for you. So that's why it's such a nasty roll. And of course, being back on the 23, if he'd have been back on the 24, he'd have just been running. That's one of the downsides, not only of being on the 23, not only that when your opponent usually has the 8-point, you can't move 6s, but now the 6-5, which was a very good roll, is now a bad roll. And since there are only half the number of double 5s as 6-5s, double 5 being the number that gets you to safety, you would prefer to be on the 24-point, all things being equal. So a bit of a shocker of a roll for Lawrence. Yeah, I mean, you can't... Chris is saying he's, and you know, even this is worth thinking about, but leading 2-0. So here I think I run, and this is another big blunder. I do remember this. There is some gain to running for sure, but Lawrence has got such a bad structure. I actually do kind of want to be there because I'm exerting pressure on this blot here. Exactly what Chris is saying. Oh, I don't know who is that. Anna. So so this is just, not only is it good anyway, it's like the value of running has gone right down because I'm actually kind of want to be back there. Should we try and change the colour to red? Yeah, I mean, this is like, it's good, it's fine if you get missed, but it's much better to make the bar. And I must have been mightily pissed off when he rolled the double 2. I'm not sure about splitting there, leaving 5, 4, 3, 6, leaving 6 numbers, and bam. And now I know now this is going to be an easy cube in lots of situations. It's never going to be too good. Even at 2-0, this is kind of an easy cube. All you need to do is like make the 8 point. So I don't know why I'm overthinking this. And the take is harder to analyse, but it just seems like a take. But to actually be clear on why it's a take is harder. It's harder to say why it is a take, seeing as it just looks so bad for light blue here, for Lawrence. But he's got enough time. Maybe he can run with a 5. Let's say I make the 8 point, he can still come out with 5s, stuff like that. Definitely, even at 2-0, doesn't seem like such a big lead, but the cube is definitely worth a lot more to Lawrence, and therefore his take point goes down quite significantly, especially in a game like this. I don't know why I'm not cubing. Why am I not cubing that? Okay, alright, fine. Am I trying to trick him into... Now Lawrence has improved, even though I've improved, Lawrence has improved, so he's made the 5 points, which I think he should do rather than coming up. So question whether I've improved as much as Lawrence has. And I think if I didn't cube the last guy, I'm probably not going to cube now. But you know, if I roll like double 6, double 3, 6, 3... Okay, so Chris thinks it's more of a double, so let's see when we go through the analysis. I mean, there's just no reason not to cube this. And like, again, I think I'd do some stupid... why would he... I consider clearing the 10. There's no need to clear the 10. And then there's a use for... Well, why wouldn't I want to clear the 10? In fact, I'm not sure. But I don't think I would. So again, we've seen that Lawrence likes to keep that third checker back to so that if he gets a shot, he doesn't have to break the anchor to hit. So that's why he's sort of loath to come out. But I mean, my natural play is just to certainly come out with the 6. You need to come out. And then you don't really want to stay on the 17. And if he did stay on the 17, I should definitely be cubing. Yeah, so I think Chris is going through considering, you know, the variations of... But you can see Lawrence doesn't want to come out. But he is obviously going to come out. So he's never going to play 8-2. No, this is... I mean, it can't be right to do that. I know, Chris is... I'm with you, Chris. I'm definitely with you. So I didn't get a chance to listen to Chris's commentary, but maybe I should have done. because it's valuable.
There are 3 checkers on 23 points at the moment for Lawrence. So one of those is unemployed at the moment.
My cursor's gone somewhere.
Therefore, he needs to go. He's on.
Like you can see, he just doesn't want to move the checker off the 23 point. It's sort of like with my 4-2 where I had this bogus idea that I couldn't leave 4 blots. I had to leave 3 and therefore make a 0.2 blunder. You know, Lawrence is just like, oh, I've got to... No, he eventually does it, like, in spite of himself. He hates it. Right, yeah, but Chris is saying that he probably should have stayed, but yeah, he could have done. So I would say that Lawrence is improved now, and with my 5-4, I haven't. So it's still going to be like in the region of, but I'm never going to improve that much. The position for me hasn't improved relative to Lawrence's. So if I didn't double here, now I don't know. Now I'm doubling. Oh, on the strength of rolling a 2. Fair enough. So obviously I'm going to hit with the 2, and it's a great 2. It's a 2 with a 1, allowing me to play 6-5. So I'm a lucky bunny. Not really playing very well here. 6-5 is not great, so it's just going to not leave shots. Obviously, you can't leave shots against a very, very good 4-point board. So again, I don't know why. What am I labouring here? I'm already down to 13 minutes. Yeah, what? So I'm noticing probably that my 6s now are going to have to, like, some of them going to be played from the midpoint. Could get ugly, like a 6. Well, I'm just about handling some of the 6s. Wow. I don't know. I'm so lucky. I have no idea what I can just see that I'm not in the zone. I'm not predicting what all the numbers do. I'm not with it whatsoever. Not at all. Maybe I'm tired. Could possibly be. So again, Lawrence doesn't want to come out of the 6. You can see. I would stay back, probably keeping the contact. 4-3, not leaving shots. Okay, so it's like a similar situation to the first game where I'm bearing in and I'm probably a slight favourite to leave a shot. Look at that, another lucky bunny. Okay, so now it's like I'm maybe 70-80% not to leave a shot. 2-1, preparing to clear. I mean, by elimination, you don't want to play 4-1. It's not great. Obviously, you leave a 6-4, you leave 6-6, 5. So. Yeah, I didn't see. What, did he have another 6? He played 8-2. He just didn't want to go. I would have gone. So people have their tendencies, and it's very difficult for them to overcome those tendencies. It's really difficult. There's not really a gap. Oh, okay. Lawrence. I've only just copped that Lawrence isn't using the baffle box. Okay, so this is no G, of course. 5-2 looks. Yeah, not much more to say about this, but I'll let it run. I won't fast forward. Not a very good roll, really. No checkers off. I must be a massive, massive favourite, even if he rolls boxes. even if he rolls boxes. Just to show me you're enjoying this, just stick a like on, be a good man and stick a like on here if you haven't already. Yeah, so I missed I must have missed a cube, so let's go to the analyse, the analyser. Where are we? Okay, so I think this is the fun bit, no? Okay, so 5-1, 6-1, lovely roll. 5-2, I like Lawrence's play, trying to make the anchor. Yep, so I got one right here. Just looks so much better, even though you want to get the spares off the 6 point, but this is so much better than making the 4 point. 2-1, making the 23 is mandatory actually, and then yeah, I mean, I did see this play. I didn't say anything, but I did see it. But actually, I didn't know that this is really bad. Maybe because it just gives numbers, extra numbers which don't do anything otherwise. So a 5-4 and 6-3 that wouldn't be good for Lawrence at all. And then even splitting to the 22 is fine. That's interesting. I see that now. I see you don't want to give the 5-4 and the 6-3. Okay. Double 2. He really obviously would like to make the 11 as well, but he can't. 4-3 was forced. 6-5 kind of forced. 13-7, 8-3, like hoping to not get hit and get something back in the game, get a foothold. And then this 6-4 is like definitely a tendency of mine to want to run for sure, but even I can see that as I said during the game, yeah, he might not cover. And I was pretty sick when he rolled this double 2 because I was just lucky to roll the 3-6, really lucky. And then this is just, surely this is a cube. Like, this is a 52 cube. It's not even such a big take, so it's like all those questions like I was asking as to how, okay, this, you know, is a take, being a kind of an experienced player, but why? And it's easy sort of to know why, but it's more difficult to, I mean, it's easy to know that it is, but it's more difficult to be able to point to exactly why it is, since it doesn't appear that Lawrence has got a clear path to turning the game around, and that's why the take is not that big. So Lawrence could quite happily pass this and only give up 0.08, which isn't that much equity. And then when I make the 10 point, even though Lawrence improves, 2-1. Yeah, so it's a bit much easier take for Lawrence. Consider these numbers here. So now my double take equity would be 0.874 as opposed to something like 0.92. So Lawrence's position relative to mine was better. Yeah, I just don't know. I mean, not big mistakes, but I just don't know what I was doing. Then 5-4 is obvious. And then Chris picked up on this very nicely, that the 6-3... I didn't think it would be such a big mistake, but it's simply like when you're down in the match, like you just want to provoke all hell breaking loose and chaos and everything. You don't give a fuck if you get hit and maybe you lose a gammon. You're 2-0 down anyway, so you don't want to lose a gammon. But so that's why such a premium on maintaining contact. But Lawrence was just concerned about trying to not spring a checker from the 23 point, and that would have been it would have converted the position to a double pass the next go for me. So totally wrong. And then eventually I double. I suppose now I've got a direct shot, so even I can see this is a double, and to pass this wouldn't have been so bad. I mean, I just knew, I don't know whether this is a thing, it sort of sounds so hokum-y, but it's almost like sometimes you double and you can kind of be thinking, well, I know you're going to take, or here you go, just take it. Just by the very way that you offer the cube, it's almost like you're trying to persuade your opponent to take it. And that's the feeling I had with this cube. I just thought he was going to take it. And again, repeating myself, but being able to say exactly why it's a take is not as easy. It's like, let's see, roll like even if you roll a 6-4, you don't leave a shot. 6-5 doesn't leave a shot. And I did roll a 6-5, did I not? And I hit 2-1 and then I rolled a 6-5. So, it closely became this position. Now, if Lawrence was further behind in the match, then the take would be even easier. But since he's only 2-0 down, he still has some match equity when he's 3-0 down. But if he was like 6-0 down, his match equity being 7-0 down isn't that great. So fine margins, I suppose. And then that was it, So completely off the ball here, really, for me. Let's go back to the match. I'm going to have to get my nuts in a sec. Hope you're enjoying this. I am. 4-0. In fact, I'm going to get my nuts now. Back in a tickle. Excuse me. Look, Chris has called all the plays. I think I was tired. Chris is saying the pressure. I just think I sleep really badly. I get anxious and so I don't sleep the night before. Double one's a great roll. Yeah, I'm not sure. You can definitely. I might well have switched myself. Well,
if you make that play, you've then got the 8 point and the 2 point, which can't form part of the same prime. You've only got 8 checkers in the attack.
Yeah, that's true. But if you don't, so yeah, Chris is saying that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You can't have 7 point prime is useless. So they're too far away from each other. This point and this point. But the thing is, if you don't switch, then you give me a good set of numbers here, and usually, if all the doubles work, this is going to be 9 numbers. The easy way to work this out is that you have 3 builders and you square the number of builders you have, and so if all those numbers work to make points, then you have 9 numbers that are going to make only 1 point, and then you have all the numbers that are going to make another point as well. That's often why tempo hits rise in value. It's not that you really want to make the 2 point. It's not that you even want to put the guy on the bar, though that has value. It's that you want to stop your opponent from doing stuff on the other side of the board. Booyakasha. Boar. Okay, so I found this is Very reasonable double. That's interesting that Chris, just the meta, interesting that Chris doesn't think this is a double. Whether or not his tendencies are to not see. So firstly, I could be wrong. Whether his tendencies are not to see market losers in positions, and here, you only need, like, being 4-0 down, you don't need that many. Let's say usually you need 9 in a money game. Well, here you probably need 5 or 6, and you've got like double 4, which is like double 6, double 4 your best, and then you've got double 5, and then that depends on what your opponent then rolls, and then you've also got like 3, 5, 6, 2. It's funny when you look at a position, it doesn't seem like it's that strong, but then when you actually look at what the rolls do and you have to try and visualize, then the position suddenly gets exceedingly strong. I mean, I know it's one number and it's the best number, but look at what double 6 does. It takes, after cubing, of course, this is what you would play. You play 2 checkers from the 13, and then, unless I roll a 3, 4, double 4, double 3, it's like complete lights out. The equity on a 1 cube. So the equity on the cube would be here on 2. He would be winning on average like 3 points or something like that. Like he's winning almost all the games, and almost all of the games he wins are gammons. That's just one number. But then you find there are actually a few other good numbers. And then you also find that even when you don't roll a very good number, you've got a pretty decent chance, and you're not that sore that you sent the cube over. It's not the end of the world, since I'm not going to be recubing leading 4-0. So all those things point together mean that, well, it means that if you do have good numbers, and if giving the cube away is never going to be that bad, it's got to be bad not to cube. So it puts the imperative on cubing. So good cube. I mean, like, never a pass, I wouldn't have thought, but could be close.
Anybody can drop this.
Could be close. All I'm doing is trying to find some salient features in the position, try and get a grip on it, and I think I'm failing to get a grip. So trying to see something about the position which makes it takeable, other than the obvious, like, for example, just to give Lawrence, like, say a 3-1, and then say, well, if I roll a 1, 3 or a 4, I'm going to come in, and then to try and see what the position might look like after that. And that's what I'm trying to do, and I'm not going to hit the clock until I've done that. Because if I was to hit the clock having done that, I would kind of just be completely guessing. Jackpot. I keep looking at jackpot on the screen. Who is Jack? So I know I'm taking, but I'm just... It sounds a bit bizarre. I'm just going to wait and use my time to try and understand the position. If I didn't have much time, I wouldn't bother doing this, but... what I'm not doing is trying to pretend that I'm going to pass or anything like that. There's no bluff involved. I'm trying to see that, well, could this actually possibly be a pass? And I'm like leaning back. I haven't successfully seen anything in the position at all. I still... Yeah, Chris is like, get the fuck on with it. Well, yeah, I mean, it just looks like an easy take. Now get on, come on. I cannot take this long. I must have seen something. So I think this was played in the evening, and I was... Yeah. Can you guys hear Chris?
He'll be quite slow in redoubling to 4.
Obviously, I'm going to take. Obviously.
He has taken. So well played, Simon. Now let's see what happens.
I still didn't know what was going on in the position. I don't know why he would do this. I definitely want to bring a man down with the 2. Because it's wood. Like, it's indirect, but it's indirect for like the 4 point and the... what? No, come on. I wouldn't do this. 1-4 is like a kind of a good and bad roll. I don't want to come in on the 24. But I make the 9, so it's like a mixed blessing. My position is a bit static now. It's like some of my rolls are going to be really dodgy. And then for some reason I'm getting lucky in this match and just rolling numbers that are saving me. And like the numbers that really test the numbers that. So what I'm trying to say, I'll pause, stop the video. I'm trying to say that I'm rolling numbers which aren't giving me any sort of difficulty, or more precisely, they're not testing my ability on what is actually happening in the position. You see with the 3-1, it didn't have to put any of my backgammon knowledge to the test. But let's say I was to roll other numbers that would force me to decide, should I be leaving the anchor here? Should I be breaking the 9 point? Should I be breaking the mid? Should I be hitting loose? So in every position, there might be 1 or 2 dice rolls which are going to test those criteria. And the difference between those decisions can be enormous. You can just get like easy decisions, or then you can be faced with a succession of very difficult decisions. And I've noticed in this match, I've just lucked out when I've got into a sort of a brittle position. Looking at this now, what I'm saying is that like, I want to come off the anchor, but he's got a 4-point board. Am I going to be able to come off the anchor? Should I come off the anchor? Should I split with the 2? Probably not. What? Why? Why not? How bad would it be? What's going to happen? All these uncertainties make backgammon really tough. That's how I see it. You know, it's just not easy. You know, now, like, obviously I'm not going to split with the 2, but now, so I just play 13 to 8, but, you know, I'm not suggesting this is the right play. There's definitely some value in slotting the 2 there, because then I would be able to, I would have a checker on the 10 point. Then my 6 would make the 4 point. Now, like, I'm like thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do with the position? It's so inflexible. It's like, in other words, so many of my numbers are going to cause me sorrows, as we say in Yiddish. So I'm just playing it blindly. It's probably right because, you know, I'm 4-0 down and facing a 4-point board. 13 to 10 is fine. I looked at this, yeah, making the 8 point, but then why do you need to upgrade to the 8 point and leave a shot? Yeah, I think Lawrence ends up doing that. He should just make the 10. No reason to come out. No, I don't. Yeah, and so here it's like I'm going to have to break my mid, and then what, and then what, and then what. So I don't really know what I'm going to do with my checkers. I'm just kind of playing blindly. Like, I'm not saying there's anything else. So Lawrence can either play 13-11. He can do this, but he could play 13-11, keeping outfield coverage, and play 9-4. So he would have made the bar, would he? So 5-2, all the roll to play. He could play this. You see, extra coverage. If I ever want to come out. But am I going to be coming out? I don't even know. Like, I really want to come out. Not of the closet. Not quite yet. But I want to come out of my from my 24-point anchor. So, yeah. This is tricky. But Chris's commentary is excellent. So I know I just luck out again with the 6-2.
Come up with the 2 there, put pressure on the 9-point checkers, and now he's rolled the magic 6-2.
Oh, I see. This is the one I take fucking ages over. And for some reason,
So this is play A.
I'm not sure whether I really understood this, but now I would hit, but without thinking about it. But I just, maybe because of
Slight weakness created
the
by
differences in when you're actually,
so
the way you actually see the board's very large. Maybe something about the way I saw it made me see the great danger in hitting. So when I just saw this position now on the board, I was like, why the fuck am I not hitting? And now, like, I'm seeing, I put the checkers on the board. I prefer to visualize it, but like, this is reasonable. Like, I've got,
good numbers.
even giving up hitting and making the 4, if making the 4 point and giving up hitting looks reasonable, and you've still got a decent chance. So I would be able to like basically get some sort of prime going, although it's undertimed. Then it can't be that bad.
I think we're in the countryside of when in doubt, hit.
Yeah, see, this is where I did listen to Chris's commentary here, and I disagree. I think that there's a very good. I'm not saying that I'm going through the correct process, but you need to go through the process here of basically, can you afford to hit? I.e., so hitting gives up all sorts. It wins more, but gives up loads of gammons, and not hitting doesn't. And I take like a long time. I got 8 minutes on the clock. And some reason, talking about difficult decisions, well, I was like given easy ones, and I've been asking for a difficult decision, and lo and behold, here is one.
Making the 4 point is an error but not a blunder.
So that's not correct. Making the 4 point and coming out are the same. I remember checking this on normal levels of XG analysis, which you will see in Backgammon Studio.
If Lawrence rolls well.
Chris is just convinced that he should hit,
Yes, there's risk, but backgammon is a game of
and
for out. Learning how to
he's
balance.
failing to see the downside. I mean, I know he understands the downside, but yeah.
Okay, so you hit and your opponent rolls double 4 or something, and you feel you've made a mistake and you castigate yourself for it. But no,
Well, it's not only that. So Chris is saying if I hit rolls a double 4, I hope you can hear Chris. But if you hit,
that's not
you know, like
to accept it.
4-6. So what's going on? 4-6. Any 4.
You have to accept the fact you're going to lose. This looks nice, but is not the best play. Let's see
We
what
will.
Lawrence can do.
I think you're wrong, Chris. I think you're wrong. So 3-1. See, even here you can see that
This is
I've got a slightly undertimed.
Simon comes up
Cannot hear Chris. Thank you for saying
is important.
a tool. Okay. Yeah, I know why. I do know why.
Rolls will be crucial here.
CL, will you tell me?
4-1 would be
Should be able to hear Chris now.
Three just makes the 3 point, I think.
Just let me know
Three.
with a Y
Yeah.
or an N.
Simon's left with the issue that he had before. Basically, he's
Should
still
be able
got
to hear
two
because I've
checkers back to
changed the
one,
setting.
And now his opponent's just made the bar.
Yeah, so I knew that I would be getting into a situation
So
where
his prime game,
my
where
my prime timing is slightly worse than Lawrence's, but not much worse.
So now
But I knew that I wasn't going to get gammoned.
4, 5, 5, 4. So you've either got to attack.
So now I kind of want to slot the 2 point. Thanks, CL.
If you do this, then I think you've got to play 11-7 because you're trying to.
That's
make
interesting.
prime.
Wait, hold on. I want to go back to this play. I want to go back to this play because I didn't see the hit. I mean, I see that you can hit. Okay. So I think the reason why I always initially consider the hit is when I see that my opponent's got a blot here, and when you hit, obviously your opponent can fan. You can take advantage of that stray blot, basically by using the tempo, by using the time that the hit gains you. And if I can actually then come up to the 22, then it's so valuable for me to be able to then come out with a 5 that then argues for putting the situation on the board where I can allow myself to do that. And only way you can allow yourself to do that is by hitting. Now, when I looked at it, I thought, well, I'm just not going to hit. But then I suppose that would allow Lawrence just to come out with a 6. Having said that, his 6s are somewhat duplicated, meaning that he needs 6s on the other side of the board. So for some reason now I see just playing this checker from the 11 point onto the 2 point. But it's probably not very good because it also gives a 1 to hit and get a third checker sent back anyway. So from memory, I think I do hit.
So you've either got to attack or hope that your opponent will crash. If you do this, then I think you've got to play 11 to 7 because you're trying to make a prime.
Yeah, so you give yourself a good 6, that's
logical.
for sure.
But he's been forced into this because of that 6-2 play. But it may yet work. So all he needs now is a 2-1. 6-3, okay.
So the tempo is still there if Lawrence stays on the bar, i.e. the 2
is a good number.
Is very, very valuable for me.
4. So
and now
Lawrence
it's looking pretty
So
horrid, like I've only got
2
basically
5s.
exact 2 6s and 3s.
4-1 is an awful roll. It puts him in danger.
So it looks like I have to hit here. I'm like, really? But I think so.
Safely.
So if I can't hit,
Wow.
If I don't hit, then
ugly roll. But you can't play
I can't do anything.
Minimize shots. So the 4 comes in. The question is, how do you play the 1?
Okay, well, maybe this is duping the 6. Okay, maybe that's okay.
I'd probably have played 8 to 7. So, all right, now he can make his 3 point, which I believe is the right play. So
yeah, I remember this.
Prime.
So like, yeah, he can make his 3 point, and then that's also, not only does he make the prime, but there's a chance that I will roll something that exposes another block. But there's also a chance that I don't, in which case he'll only have 2 checkers back. I mean, this is obvious. Whereas if he hits, he's definitely got 3 checkers back, and he can still make the 3 points. So I think I would probably go for the 3rd checker back, go for the increase in gammons, and you might, you've got a very good chance of winning the game without the 3 point anyway. So that's what I would do.
Has some spares and his opponent still has to play. You want your opponent to crunch the board. Alternatively, you hit because that puts another man back.
Yeah, so I think
it may delay Simon long enough that he can hold his front position.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe I overlooked that.
Normally, when a full.
But I'm still likely to break anyway, even if he hits. If you don't hit, you don't always get the checker sent back.
Take it.
And if you don't hit, you might crunch yourself. He might roll a double 4 or something ridiculous after not hitting. Yeah, again, it's like
the extra checker back.
There's no real need to think about this, but yet you can see that Lawrence is just trying to work it out. He's trying to. He's just, which is a good thing. He's trying to go through the process of working it out rather than pretending to himself that he's understood it. And I believe that it just looks from his body language that he has worked it out, or at least he's done something.
Work. One of those weird occasions when making.
At least he's satisfied himself that he's worked it out, which is part of the.
So now he can must make the 3 point surely. Yeah.
So yeah, I'll just pause it. What I was saying is that the important thing is when we play is that we at least show ourselves that we've worked it out. I mean, even if the conclusion that we've come to isn't correct, to at least being honest with ourselves as to whether we've come to some sort of conclusion at all, or alternatively whether we're just kind of giving up halfway through the process and just making a play. I mean, that can happen because of time constraints, but
It pays off to
usually
1-6,
we've
but
got
even
enough
then he's
time
still got to roll another two
to
sixes, so.
to go through the process.
What?
Yeah, Chris didn't
What?
like this at all. I mean, I don't know why. It's not that bad, but I mean, like a 3-2 just from nowhere. It can't be right to do this. But
and he rolled, of course, the 1-6. There you go. That's backgammon for you.
5-4. Luckily, he covers it from the 12 point.
Well, that was a very interesting.
So there's
play.
lots of
I
stuff
haven't
going on
considered
here.
it,
So Chris was adamant that the 6-2 that I played was wrong, and not that it was whether it's wrong or right, but just to be able to concede that there are reasons why one play might be right, as opposed to, even if it isn't right, there can be compelling reasons for it to be right. Of course, it's a matter of evaluating the priorities of each reason in order to assess finally whether one player is right or the other. But it's certainly important to be able to, as a starting point, to be able to see that each play has its value. So again, not really much happening here. Not that many gammons with 3 men on the ace, I don't think. Maybe like 25, 20, 30, something like that.
I think you can just... I don't think you muck about with the checkers in the inner board here. At this point, he's not going to crash with 6s or 5s. Oh, sorry, there's only 2 to play. I missed the first half of the roll.
Ace, obviously,
So
make the 2.
Point. You never know when you might need a 5.
So now I've got
6-5
some chances of winning the game. I'm going to be able to keep a 5-point board, since my 5s are not going to play neither of my 6s. My 4s, I've got 4 of them. I've got 2 of them to play.
Or do you come in and leave some horror numbers for next time, like 6,
so I would just keep the bar for Lawrence if he's deciding whether he should break. I just want to make sure that my opponent doesn't roll a 6.
I think the fact that he's actually got, I think this is right, because not only he's got a hit, he's got to escape the other checkers as well, and you've got an entry point even if you do get hit. So
but that could be right. My thinking isn't clear.
Okay,
it could be right to do that.
6.
So now the 4 does break. So I should. The question is, am I? The decision, it seems mine, as to whether to lift the checker on the 5-point is a question of how likely I am to be able to keep it there, not roll a 4. Well, if I roll a 6, I will be able to keep it there.
I think you play.
So I want a 5-point board, but obviously I don't want to. I don't want to.
Because there's a very real gammon threat.
I don't want to have to burn it. I don't want to have to play the 4. That's why I make the decision between picking it up or leaving it there. So now the gammons go up significantly, because I still need a 6 to escape any checker.
Given that your opponent's got 2 open points for you to come in,
but
6, 12, 18, he's got 54 pips.
Well, here I would just take men off.
Rolls.
Again, like the way that I save this gammon is by coming out. So therefore, a premium on Lawrence, trying to make it as unlikely as possible for me to come out from this block. Now, obviously, there's a gain on this in other variations.
Double 6, that's going to...
Well, it's going to save a lot of gammons. I've got to come out with 2 at least.
You might as well wait for the possibility of 5-4 or 6-4, I guess, here.
Yeah, I'm just not seeing it. I mean, you obviously stay.
Sorry, 18 to 12.
But with Lawrence's 4-2, I think I would have kept the anchor. Also with the 3-2, I think I would have kept the bar. I didn't see why he wanted me to escape with more numbers.
And it may be better to accept the fact that you're not going to win the game and run away.
I mean, if I'm thinking about going, I mean, there's no reason why you would go. I don't. Why would you? Okay. Maybe it's reason. Maybe it's okay because of the score, but I don't even know that it saves that many gammons. Since when I go, I can never actually save the gammons when I hit him. Now I can never actually hit him and save the gammon in those variations.
So she just keep them going.
I can still get gammoned here. I don't know why I left there. Naughty boy. Was that legal?
In the double six place.
All right, so a lot to look at the analysis on Backgammon Studio.
No.
Does he actually gammon me here?
So we've had all 3 games could have been gammon so far, but unless Lawrence rolls very well, this will not be a gammon. Only 5 or 6, pretty good.
Easy save.
In.
Double 5 isn't going to work for me, but I'm looking. Oh.
Notice that. Oh, hello.
Well, he's only taken 2 off.
Good enough. Right. Notice
so I'm likely to have 2 rolls. Okay.
For black. Oh, 5-1 does though.
All right, so let's have a look at the analysis. Let's have a look. I don't remember Lawrence's 5-3. Oh. I don't remember my 4-1. Is this the right match? Oh, right. We got to the double 1. So, yeah. Chris wasn't sure about switching. I could never see that this is such a big blunder not to switch. I mean, I don't think anyone would see this. It looks so reasonable to make the 7 point, which isn't actually the second best play, to make the 7 point and to make this prime, but then you just give me all these numbers to make the 5 point and also the 4 point. Notice that the numbers that make the 5 point are not the same numbers that make the 21 point here, which means that, well, when numbers they're diversified, so I only have 36 possible dice rolls. Lawrence's job is to minimize the number of dice rolls that do good things in the position, and that is why you need to switch to because you minimize the number of dice rolls that do good things. And then the cube for me was it's a bigger cube than it is a take because there are so many punishing rolls. And then 2-1, I didn't like Lawrence's 2-1. It's not so bad. I think he needed to bring a checker down, as I said, like this, just to be able to use it to hit with, because he's going to carry on hitting. He's got a 3 point board. I've got a 1 point board. Such a big difference between the two. 1-4 was a mixed blessing. Now I have to be primed coming in on the 24. 6-5, he's just going to run from the front, from the 21 point, so he doesn't get attacked. 3-1, I just got myself out of jail. And as I was saying during the game, I didn't really know where I was going with this game. Like, what am I going to do with certain numbers? How am I going to play them? Basically, the main question is, am I going to come off the anchor? This double 4 was a great roll, fills in a point. I missed it. 3-2. As I said, there was value in this, but it's just too dangerous at this score, especially to expose a second block. But the problem with the top play is that it gives me difficulty down the line. As Chris said, Lawrence should just have played 13-10. There's no reason to change the 9 point to the 8 point. They're both bearing in on the 3 point. In fact, the 9 point is a better bearer in for the 3 point than the 8 point, since it's 1 pip back, and therefore there are going to be more numbers that hit from the 9 point than from the 8 point. By the way, stick a like on this video if you haven't done so already. That's the least you can do. 5-2, 13-6 is fine. I looked at other plays. Okay, I won't say too much about it. And then here we go. This is the difference between hitting and not hitting. Like, such different scenarios. I mean, should we look at the details? Are we that nerdy? So obviously hitting 43% games, but loses 12% gammons. And I didn't like. I would never have known it. It loses such? It doesn't seem like it's only 12%. It seems like it's loads more. That's bizarre. And I went for the play that it loses 6% more, as it for comparison between 43% and 37%, but it only loses 7% gammons. It's surprising that you would want to trade 6% wins for 5% gammons. It would appear that that's not good enough to make the non-hitting play right, but it is. Well, it's almost equal to. It's almost equal to the hitting play. Again, like I always say, it's like try and stand by your decisions. So if you don't hit, try and see how the game is going to develop. If you don't hit, and see whether you like the look of it, see whether you know how you're going to play the moves down the line. And I think that I had decided, rightly or wrongly, that if I hit, I didn't want to. I mean, this kind of sounds silly. This isn't really logical, but I suppose I thought it was extra dangerous, even if you don't get hit immediately when you hit with this 6-2, that you can get hit later down the line and reap the consequences of him having a 4-point board and you only having a 2-point board. So double 3 is a small thing. I should play big here and leave the blots. Yeah, because now I'm putting myself in a position where I'm minimizing my good dice rolls, and now some of my dice rolls, in other words, some of my dice rolls after this play that I make are going to be bad for me. So therefore, it can be worth taking a risk now to improve my dice rolls on the next go. I mean, it's fairly obvious, easy concept to get. And then I correctly saw that I should be hitting. So there's something I saw in this position that I didn't necessarily see when I'm looking at it now. But as I explained, it's the tempo. Like any 2 now becomes massive. Whereas if he's not on the bar, I can't really split with the 2. And I need the tempo. And then this 4-1, yeah, I looked at this play. I didn't like not hitting. I just thought, well, again, tempo here is the same idea. If it goes well for you, if he rolls anything without 6 or a 2, then, you can roll. The 2 becomes very good. You can only, you always need to try and win the game. You can only win the game with a 2. But if you roll a 2 and he's not on the bar, then you're just kind of inviting death. But when you roll a 2 and he's on the bar, then it's a completely different prospect, especially if he's got a block there, which now he doesn't. So it's not as valuable, which is probably why the tempo hit is not indicated anymore as the best play. But also always notice, giving away all the easy tips, like whether or not the numbers are duplicated on different sides of the board. So note here that you need a 2 to split to the 22, but you need a 3 to make the 2-point, and you need a 6. So the fact that the 2s and the 3s are different numbers works in your favour. But the fact that to roll 3s and 2s, you don't get that many extra indirects that add up to a 3 or a 2, works against you. And then where was Lawrence's 6-1? Yeah, I mean, I would have hit just because, well, I won't go through it again. I said, and then Lawrence's 4-1 was bizarre. I think, well, I know what he thought, but I won't bother to go into it because, it can't work because now it gives me a direct, 3-5, 3-2 to victory. So it can't be right to do that. And then let's see. I think he should have been keeping. Yeah, even here with the 4-2, it's asking us to put an extra checker on the 7 point, suggesting that we want to be keeping the bar for as long as possible. Why do we want to be keeping the bar? Because we want to stop our opponent rolling sixes, escaping with sixes. Why do we want our opponent to stop our opponent escaping with sixes? Because if he escapes with sixes, then he saves more gammons, and we don't want him to save more gammons. We want to win more gammons. And that's why with this 3-2, yeah, I was right. Just keep the 7 point. Don't let the guy roll a 6. And then my 6-6 must have been a bit weird. Very close. Yeah, you should just stay. I got to go for a winkle, but stick around because I'm enjoying myself, and so you should be too. Yeah, I'll be 2 seconds. If you see things clearly, things are they make perfect sense. Any questions? Okay, back in a sec. I remember when I was studying law and the European Union law lecturer went to the toilet, and they all had portable microphones, and he didn't turn the switch to off when he went to the toilet, so we were all sitting in the lecture theatre. By the way, this isn't necessarily about backgammon, and we just heard what you might have just heard, the remnants of like the wee going into the urinal and then washing the hands. We heard the whole thing. Poor man had not thought about turning the mic off. All right, so back.
So there you go, 4-2. That was an interesting game which really hinged on Simon's play of the 6-2, and I think those are incredibly difficult plays to find, particularly over the board. You give it to top players as a quiz and they'll find the right answer. Put them under the
But they were
pressure of playing
equal.
the Super Jackpot,
Well, I don't understand
and
what Chris
they'll
is
err on the side
saying.
of caution.
To be
That's,
fair.
I think what happened there.
Yeah, thank you. Stick a like on it, Lenny.
And of course, even
Stick
when
a
we're
like.
looking at XG evaluations to get.
We like
really
likes. I deserve a like for
evaluation
this,
to roll out,
surely.
and that's to be done in the car with one study after the
Okay,
event.
so 4-5, double 6. This means I know I'm going to win the match.
Good number for Simon.
By the way, I remember playing Len in the main of the competition, and he was so kind just to let me win because he's nice.
Okay, so now we're back to a mutual holding game. Probably not to be
This
that
is the game I
exciting.
love.
Otherwise
I
it's
love
a
18,
double,
10
and it's right
twice.
already.
It's
he's
so
already
easy.
double 6, and now he's rolled double 4.
And now it's just like, even at this
And
score, it's a matter
to
of
do some
counting.
That's a poor roll.
I'm going to have to leave. I have to get a drink of water. Don't go away. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, let's go. So yeah, I just love
27
easy
for
positions.
Simon.
I've got my checkers round, fully escaped, and I know I'm going to have easy decisions.
And 49 is 22 pips ahead, so it's certainly
Checker play
double.
decisions, that is.
Given that he's got so
127
many
I am, and he's 92, 108, 115, 149. So I'm 22 up.
As to whether Lawrence will
22 on 127 is a shitload, but it can never be a pass, I don't think.
There's no structural weaknesses. And
There's also a tiny thing here that when your opponent's on an odd number of points away from victory, you don't really want to put him on an even number of points, so which makes the value of taking slightly higher than it otherwise would be.
Involved in this position as well. So,
but 22 pips and not very many shots being generated.
The tactics are playing it so
like for example, if I roll a double 3 now, it's kind of the shot equity is dead. If I roll a double 6, the shot equity is dead. Anything that clears the mid now, shot equity is gone. Double 2 is like a hybrid because the 11 point is going to be difficult to clear. So he does pass. I mean, yeah, it could well be a pass. It could. I mean, it could well be.
Logically, what I would expect there. Simon just rolled incredibly.
Yeah, I mean that's just a dream. It's a BMAP game you got there. So I need to just switch on to, let's have a look at the analysis. Yeah, so the analysis, like no mistakes. Okay, so it was a pass, a good pass by Lawrence. Not a big pass, and as I counted, it was 22 pips. Yeah, 127, 149. So I go 5-2 up.
Pretty well. Nothing you can do, just give it up, move on to the next game.
5-1 I'm going to split because it's just a lot easier to play that way. Don't want to get a man sent back, especially when you're leading. 6-3 he should run all the way. Actually, at this score, maybe you want to just maintain a bit more contact and just play to the 18. 6-4. Obviously, I'm just going to make the 2 point, which is an okay use of the checkers. Makes another point on board. It's not a terrible roll. 6-5.
He'll just run away and hope that he doesn't get hit.
Correct. Excellent commentary by Chris. Really impressive. So 5-1. I'm going to come up. Basically, immediately come up to try and if this checker gets to there now, then I've got a 6 to hit it with. So what is this dice roll?
Lawrence has managed to clear his. Now with the poor. Sorry, that's 5-3. I thought it was 4-3. Here, I think you make the point. Because you're going to need it at some future time.
Surely he has the point now. I went for white. So now, I mean, the reason he had the point. The reason he had the point. Let me just pause the video if I can.
Now you're going to make the 4 point.
The reason he had to point, thank you, is simply because now the chances of Lawrence being able to win this game, and the way he wins this game is by getting into a position that he can cube from and maybe get a pass. The chances of him being able to do that now that I've got the 22 point of it, are much more protracted. They're going to take it's going to take a lot longer for that situation to arise, unless, of course, he rolls something like, double 5, but even then, I'm going to have an easy take. So, just the fact that he got the checker safe was good, but the resulting structure wasn't going to be a structure that was going to enable him to have a cube from.
Yeah. So
and certainly not the type of cube he wants. He wants a sort of a gammonish cube.
Now you're going to make the 4 point.
Now he has to give up the 10 point anyway, which is a factor in the original 5-3 play.
6-3.
So I'm assuming the race is close because I can see that there are 3 checkers on my mid as opposed to 3 on his mid. So that's already a 26 difference.
Run away. This is not the time to run.
But obviously, it looks still like I'm behind.
Common beginner's error is to see the 6-3 as safetying the one of the rear checkers and go, but as you're not winning the race, it's not a very bright idea.
Yeah, so, you know, this is a fairly reasonably likely variation from Lawrence's original 5-3 play.
So the 3 comes down, the question is where does the 4 go? You could start the 2-point here,
and
some use to his checkers, which he does.
Not going to be able to swing a cube for... Or if he does, it's not going to be... It's going to be an easy take.
So, and Lawrence is doing
good play with the 4, so now he gets chances to make the 5-point with this, using this builder here.
And I don't think there are that many shot-leaving numbers.
This is not a good number.
Certainly not a shot-leaving number. So the 6 and the 2 comes in, despite the strippage. Playing 4-2 would be very wrong in here, or 6-4.
I don't agree. I think 4-2 would be okay. I'm not sure why, but I would probably, if I had to put my money on it, I would say 8-6 is better.
So if you
I'm
come
not
in,
sure why. You do want a split, so now so like 6-1 is going to leave a shot, which we know, which it wouldn't the other way.
He's warming up with his 6-1,
so 6-1, no reason to bring it in really, just to play. Why not just play it down to the 7 points? Oh. And then play 5-4. So could this be a cube? It could possibly.
Which is obviously.
So just quickly, as to the decision of whether to cube here, for me, I would look at what bad numbers I have, and if I have loads of bad numbers, I would kind of start thinking that it might not be such a great idea to cube, and so before even counting them, noticing that the points are stripped gets me a little bit worried. But still, you know, Lawrence could roll something like a 5-2, and he's just going to presumably clear the mid, and then not leave that many shots, only leaving 4-4, 2-2, 6-2, which is only 5 shots. And so it looks scarier than it is. And then, so therefore, the very fact of having a 1 to hit is valuable. All of this has to be set against the context of me having like a supreme 5-point board. So, but you know, like numbers like 1-1, so 1-1, 5 are going to be close to market losers, obviously depending on what I roll. But other than that, I can't see, like, even if Lawrence is to roll a 1 and then I come in with something, is it going to be a pass? If it is, it's going to be like a really weak pass.
Not a double, despite the fact he's got a shot as well.
But interesting that Lawrence sees something in the position.
The hit and a fan might just
exactly hit and a fan. Excellent. I mean, well, I say excellent. It might. But see, this is one of the numbers that.
Now it's more interesting. Is that right?
I
would look at making.
I would look at making the 5-point as well. So.
All 3 might.
So you could even just. So.
Is that right? All 3 might. Now
sorry. What I'm trying to do is this is the starting position, and noticing that Lawrence moves these checkers first, but actually, not saying that it's definitely wrong to make the bar, but why would you move these checkers first? Noticing that you now bring them into direct range of a point that you want to clear. Whereas if you don't move them, they're only an indirect range. So just on that criterion, it's better to keep them on the 10-point. Now that's not to say there are not other reasons that will overrule that reason, but that very reason stops my hand from reaching for those checkers and putting them on the 7-point. The checkers I'm reaching for are those ones to fill the gap on the 5-point. Of course, that could be wrong, but then I can still take it back before I punch the clock. But once I've made the 5 point, I can then see whether I want to move the checkers from the 10 point to the 7 point. That would be my process anyway.
Enough to make this a double. Double 3 might. Now it's more interesting. Is that right? I would look at making the 5 point and bringing the other 2 down. This way you're creating points that need to be... Yeah. I think this is reasonable, but I would certainly have looked at the other play. Right, so now it's a different situation.
So yeah, I mean, is this going to be a pass? This is what I was saying. Can I have some likes, please, guys?
90 plays 100.
One like is like a sort of a
4 point prime.
So this is.
This looks like double and take. That's precisely what
So I'm taking this. He rolls a great number. I'm taking this easily. So it just shows how far away it must have been from a cube the day before.
This is good. So 2 of them are easy.
Again,
Yeah.
so Lawrence is just not seeing. Not saying this is wrong, but he's just not seeing the deleteriousness. What's the right word? Of bringing the checkers into direct range of an anchor, and he doesn't need to do that. He could just play. If he was just observing that criterion alone, he would just play 2 checkers to the 11, and then he would clear the 7 point, and then I don't know if you can picture this. He would just then have 2 checkers there. That's all he would have in the outer board, and then when if he had to clear that and leave a man stranded, it would only be able to be hit by an 8. So this should be something, instead of like being an afterthought, this is like the very first thought. This is the very first feature of the position.
6-4 leaves a...
Unless I missaw the position. Now like 6-4...
Right, 'cause it stops.
6s are awkward.
Double 6s. 5,
So and the 5-1, it still maintains the awkwardness. So what we're relying on now in this position is we're relying on a number that clears this point before clears the 7, and what you find that a lot of the time you're not going to be able to clear the 9 point before you clear the 7 point.
Try not to roll double 4 here.
So he's still not cleared the 9 point before the 7 point. I don't know why I'm clearing the 6. Okay, I mean, I could leave there. I was playing quite quickly now. I think I'm. So there he rolls the 6-4. So he did.
Terrible roll. He's going to play 9 to 5. So that whole question about how he played the double 3 earlier and then potentially the double 2.
Yeah. So agreed. I mean,
go back and look at after the match,
I think,
see whether my
in fairness, that shows a lack of
opinion is equal to the analysis. So
a lack of
really no
understanding.
choice
Just
for that 6-4.
Lawrence just doesn't see one thing in that position, and
Everything else
that
is wrong. So
has
this is
caused
nowhere near a redouble,
all of this.
but it will be in a minute.
Right. So now I'm a
if he
massive
hits,
favourite
and
after
he
this,
fans,
before Lawrence's roll. Obviously, never
which is
redoubling.
the-
After he fans.
So now do you take a roll to potentially win a gammon?
So yeah, I'm going to pause here. Like, these can be, well, for me, the most difficult decisions. Like, they can be a bit bewildering. So you've got to look at, let's say you just you do dichotomy, look at the downside and the upside. Well, the downside is that, won't take the very worst, but let's say you come out and then Lawrence just comes in. You come out without hitting, and then Lawrence just comes in, and then he's got a checker here, and you've got 2 checkers to bring round, and you've got every chance of leaving shots against a 5-point board, and he's holding a 4 cube, assuming he takes. And that scenario, the problem is that scenario is so wildly different to like the scenario when you hit the 4. And then, again, not really considering gammons, he's just got so... in order to win, he's going to have to like roll a double six off the bar or something a bit crazy. And then, of course, you know that in order to get closer to the right decision, you have to, you know that you have to work out that you hit 11 times. So the scenarios when you hit are basically your equity is going to be too good or in that region. And then what about the 25 times out of 36 that you don't hit? Well, he hasn't come in yet. If you come out and he doesn't come in, and let's say you hadn't queued, would he then be passing? Let's say you just come out to here, he's still got a man on the bar. Would you still be passing? Would he still be passing? Would you still be cubing? So I think I was thrown a little bit by Chris's comment, oh, what's he going to do now? I mean, it looks like a big no redouble to me. Like, quite obviously, if I recube to 4 and I win a gammon, then 2 of those 8 points are of no value to me. That's a huge thing. That's a huge deal. The other thing is that if Lawrence then, if I just win a 4 cube, I go 9-2. Therefore, if Lawrence is holding a 4 cube and he knows that if I just win the game and I go 9-2 up, then he doesn't have to have much at all to be able to swing it to 8. And he will almost win the match. He will go to 10-5 up. But going back to the starting point of what I was trying to say is that they're difficult because you can fall into the trap of just looking at it from one of the main variations. So as I said, there are 2 sort of main variations here. One is when you hit and one is when you don't. And the trick is to be able to merge those 2 variations to be able to see what happens. And that's difficult. That's difficult.
So you're 5-2 up.
And of course, like if I rolled like a double 1, anything that's not above a 3, then I could be in serious danger of the game turning around. So as for how often I win the game here, maybe I only win like 70, 65, 70%.
Yeah, I think.
But why are... Like I'm making a face. So I don't understand what... let's see what the computer says.
There's any way on earth that Lawrence is going to take this.
Maybe I'm bluffing. I mean,
Simon not to roll a 4, then Lawrence to roll a 6.
Yeah, maybe my analysis now is a bit off. So, looking at it from Lawrence's side, the fact of being able to roll a 4 makes it very dangerous for Lawrence. Yeah, I as you can see, I struggled with that decision. So let's go to let's see what the analysis says. Okay, so 6-3, Lawrence is right to run, even at this score where he wants to increase contact. So 6-4 makes the 2 points. 6-5 going to run, okay. 5-1, yeah, okay, nothing. Okay, so Lawrence is actually right to make the 10 point here. Fair play. So if he doesn't make the 10 point, I suppose the fact of being able to be hit back is not great for him. But there definitely is a lot of value in making the 3 point. I suppose it's just that you get hit back. So obviously I'm going to make the 22 point with the 2-1 to stop myself being attacked. Then the 6-4, he has to make the 4 point, which is good, sort of, and bad. And then the 6-3, I've got nothing really to think about. And 2-1, and Lawrence has got all these strip points in his outer board. 3-4 is a good play, keeping a spare man on the 10 point, so that enables him now to make either the 5 point or the bar without leaving shots on the 10 point, even though it's in indirect range from the 22. 5-4, good play. Again, another spare now, so you're even more likely to make some points, which you need. You need some landing points. 6-2, Chris called it. You come in from the 8 point, even though you leave preparing. Oddly enough, now doing what you didn't, you set out to make more points, but now you're actually going to be preparing to do the opposite, which is to try and clear the points. No, you're not going to clear the 8 point, I suppose, but you are going to clear the 10 point if you can, and certainly the mid. 13-6, okay, no big deal. And so Lawrence's play was right, but this play isn't that bad. I'm not sure why it's not right, but obviously for landing spots, of course, you want this as a landing spot. But I'm going to guess that Lawrence's double 2 wasn't right, and then I had to come down. I can't come out with the 6-2. And then I took this like it was nothing. I'm not sure why I was taking this without thinking. Maybe I just counted the pips. But you've got to do a little bit more than count the pips, since you're primed. So you don't always get to use your pips to win the race. Sometimes you're going to be blocked. So and Lawrence's play was right again. So I know it's like egg on my face, but I did think that Lawrence's play would be wrong, but it still holds that you should be aware of the consequences of this sort of structure, and only now seeing the evaluation, then you see that the reason for this is not because it's the easiest to bear in, but you've got to block my big numbers, and so there's a premium on that. Maybe I should concede that it's not as bad as far as generating shots as I thought it would be, but I am surprised. And yeah, of course, Lawrence just rolled he got so unlucky. It seems like it must be a pass. I don't know what I was... Wow, look at this. Okay. So it is a big redouble, but it is a take. And as far as winning chances, I've actually got 80 rather than 70. So I'm underestimating my winning chances here. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, I'm just thinking what if it was to put it into a higher valuation setting, what the cube action would be. But yeah, it was obvious that Lawrence was always going to pass this, so maybe I just thought, well, I'm going to cash. I want 2 points, which is fair enough. All right, I'm going to do one more game because my voice is getting a bit
7-2
hoarse, actually.
So I think both players are playing well. Yes, there have been some errors, as I've said before, but you
So yeah, when you say stack on the mid,
so,
what do you mean?
Extreme Gammon plays to a performance rating of 0. The best players in the world can probably play around 2.1, 2.2 a lot of the time.
Is there a break here?
good players
Yeah.
will be round the 4. Okay.
Okay, hold on. Oh, I rolled another boxes. Oh dear. Fucking hell. Okay. Yeah, so really interesting. That was a really difficult cue, but
Well, looks
somehow
like we're back.
I got my 2 points. I mean, Lawrence might have taken, and it might have been a whole different story
Setting up the board.
for making 10 instead of the 3. There was 6 on the mid. I think you're talking about the double 3. I'm not sure though. All right.
So Simon needs 4, Lawrence needs 9.
Okay, so yeah, last game I'm going to do 3-1.
Lawrence will be doubling aggressively, particularly if there's any gammon threat. But if Simon continues to roll this well, he's going to win the match. So it's a huge advantage rolling boxes first roll response.
5-3, you should just
this
split, I
should be down,
suppose.
split at the
Normal
back.
play.
Oh.
Yeah, this
Okay.
is. I think this is a tendency of Lawrence to. Well, I don't know how it's related to the other ones, but yeah, he's overvaluing. He knows he's behind in the race, so he's kind of thinking, well, I can stay on the 24, but he's overvaluing the value of having the 24 point in the first place.
I would have thought splitting it back was
So
right.
this is an easy play, like
There's no pressure
with
on.
the blotting board, even though it doesn't duplicate the 2 you need to hit.
Pressure on.
You just go.
This way, there is no pressure. He rolls a 2, 6, 5. So the problem.
So
with
now,
not
like
having
Lawrence
split
has
is
still
he's now
got these men on the
forced into an
24. It's
ace
not
point game.
exactly. He's pointing to the 22 because he kind of knows where he could have been. He would have hit, but still, he wanted to be on the 22.
So
he wanted to be on
my
the
instinct there
22,
was obviously was to
just to have more just to have more
About
coverage of his
5-3.
board, so that when I, for example, do this with my 4-1, well, it's in direct range of something. And now he's just like he's got nothing. He's got zilch.
yeah, and I was right. And just a quick look. Some things you get so used to seeing that when somebody does something different, it looks very unnatural, and that 5-3
Yeah.
by Lawrence to me looked unnatural. Now he's faced
So he
with a
should-
problem
6-2 he has to
because
run.
basically he's behind in the race.
Or not.
He's going to have to split. his
Well,
rear
if he
checkers
does
at
that,
some point
yeah.
here. He's going to have to take some risk, or else those black checkers.
So
will just come
what I'm
rolling.
trying to say is, if he doesn't run, then he would have to break the mid. He doesn't want to break the mid. If he doesn't break the mid, he's going to have to play supposedly 8-2. If he does play 8-2, he doesn't want to then split with the 2, since you don't want to split when you've got a blot in your own board. That's not to say that I know it's wrong. Therefore, that's why I just thought that the best play has to be just running to the 16 point, which in itself doesn't really have its own discernible game plan, because then what you're going to do, you're going to try and then roll an exact 6-2 again, or 3-5. You're going to be leaving one man back vulnerable. So, however, contrast that to, let's say, Lawrence had the 22. I'm not sure if he could have had it, but let's say he had checkers on the 22, then he would be far more okay with like playing 2 down, because then he'd know that his game plan was just to stick on the 22 point and try and get a shot eventually. And then the questions are like, when is Simon going to cube, and when can I still take as Lawrence? But now he's got the checkers on the 24, he's facing a difficult decision.
Points will be made, and either he'll cash or be able to play on for a gammon. So I think this is the right play. He's got to put some.
Yeah,
pressure
so I'm
on
like a
those
massive
multiple
favourite. I
checkers.
assume this isn't cubable yet.
Certainly, if this was a money
But-
game or the score was level, I'd be doubling here. What can we see?
Yeah, I think I end up cubing because I think Lawrence is going to pass.
He's still thinking about doubling, I think, though.
But
obviously, it's a strong position.
I'm probably thinking, going through all the bad rolls, and saying that things like 5-4, 6-3 plays just about. 5-4
Is it good enough to double?
A shot.
I
mean, I kind of know this
ahead, actually, so I doubt whether he'll be doubling this. Oh, 4-4, wow. Now it'll be too good if Lawrence fans. No, he hasn't fanned. 2, 6.
So yeah, now this makes more sense. Now
he's ahead in the race.
I double, but I can see that at this score,
and he's ahead in
it could possibly not be a double.
Better 4-point board. The 2 stacks of checkers weigh against him.
Let me just pause. So what I'm looking at here is like how many rolls are actually going to leave shots, and therefore how many times am I just going to be able to bring this game home safely, irrespective of a single game win, since the danger of cubing in these positions is that your opponent can then turn it round and then maybe even win a gammon himself, and so the first number that I can see that leaves a shot is 6-5, and then there's really not much else. So therefore I would be like, maybe I can double this. And as for whether I'm going to win a gammon, it's not, I suppose, as critical, because I've got such a match lead that although a gammon on a 2 cube wins me the match, I shouldn't really be that concerned about trying to win a gammon here.
Should that deter him from doubling is the key question. So,
but then of course things like 4-3. So he just passes, and I think, I'm not sure whether this is the one. I remember there was one cube that wasn't a recube, and it wasn't a cube. Let's have a look at the what the analysis says quickly, and then we're gonna call it a day. Yeah, okay, fine. That makes sense. It looked pretty strong to me. Although you could see, so 5-3, yeah, Lawrence not coming up is a fairly big error. The next best play is coming down with the 2, with the 3. But as far as I see it, you need to split to get coverage on the outfield. I mean, it seems quite obvious. 6-5. So now he's stuck. Yeah, I didn't see that you can play 8-7 here for some reason. No big deal. 4-3 is such a great roll. And then the 6-2. Oh, here we go. Right, so 6-2 is the right play. And then the next best play is playing 24-16, which is not that far behind. And then anything else is a pass. And so in fact, so this is really difficult for me. I suppose I'm concerned about the game going wrong, but the only number that I could see that was bad was 5-4. And then everything else, you're just tending to bring the game in safely. Then plus being 4 away, and the fact that if your opponent takes and you gammon him, you win the match, has got to be a factor in favour of cubing. And actually it's just one of these weird cubes where not cubing or cubing doesn't make much difference to your equity, and equally not taking or taking or passing doesn't make much difference to your opponent's equity. The difference is only 0.043. So it's almost like saying he's fucked if he does, he's fucked if he doesn't. Like he's fucked if he goes 8-2 down here. And then once I roll the double 4, I'm not sure whether I was thinking that, I suppose I was thinking it can't be too good because I've got a few bad numbers, and but it's got to be quite from knowing that it was only a small take before. We know that's got to be a big pass. Yeah, and it's a huge pass. I could have just played on. So I think I kind of bogeyed myself, like just thinking there were so many bad numbers, and that it could go wrong somehow. But it's really only 6-5. Like things like 4-2, the fours, assuming you're not going to hit, which would be, a reasonable assumption, and then you're going to play the 2 like that, and you're going to leave 6 numbers or something, 6-2, 5-2, 6-2, 5-2, and 6-1. So you can leave 6 numbers. And you don't always have to leave shots. You might roll like 3 combinations of 3s, 2s, and 1s, which case you just unstack. And then you sometimes roll like double 1 or double 4, double 6, and then you're really, you're not happy that you didn't cue. So, yeah. And the last thing I'll do before I go is just look at the winning chances for what it's worth. 77.3% is way more than you need. It's safe enough to be able to give the cube away at this score. So, and then the next thing to look at would be how much of a difference being 8-2 up to 11 makes, which I won't bother doing now because I can't be asked. I'm going to leave it there. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys or girls got something out of it. And